Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for how to make the most of a virtual career fair. I'm going to share my screen now, and we'll get started with the presentation. So my name is Jennifer Schaefer, and I am the Associate Director of Employer Relations and Marketing for the Career Development Center at Appalachian State University. And I'm delighted to be joined by Caitlin Gilbert, who is a staff recruiter with Youth Villages, who is one of our valued employers and has recruited at Appalachian quite a few times over the years, and is also going to be joining us as part of the Southern Alliance Virtual Career Fair on June 16th. So welcome, Caitlin.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm super excited to be here and working with you guys and attending that career fair in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, us too. So Caitlin, do you want to tell us a little bit about Youth Villages and what you all are looking for, just for our audience's sake?
Of course. So Youth Villages, for anyone who's not aware, we are a private nonprofit organization, and we provide mental health services to at-risk youth and their families. So we are working with the nation's most vulnerable children, so those specifically with those emotional and behavioral health problems. So from the sound of all of that, we are really looking for those social services, human services backgrounds, those who really want to work with kids and families. We hire a lot of those different degrees as well, because we have our operations center where we look for business degrees, marketing, communications, and we are just always looking for those next bright stars.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So we want to start out by acknowledging that obviously the world has changed a lot in the last 2 months. And in response to COVID-19, many career fairs have shifted from in-person platforms to online platforms. And so as someone who might be job seeking or looking to network with employers, or just improve their career readiness skills, a virtual fair can be a great resource that you can take advantage of. But I think it's important to recognize that while this is an online platform, that doesn't mean that you can just walk into it without any preparation whatsoever. And so we wanted to get together to provide you 10 simple steps that you'll want to follow to set yourself up for success at a virtual career fair. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about, first of all, is the benefits of a virtual career fair. So obviously this platform does not in any way replicate the rich experiences that you can have in person, but it does have some of its own benefits, like the fact that you can participate from anywhere. Your living room, where if you're on campus, if you're off campus, there are just a lot of options that do not restrict you depending on your geographic location. You can also explore employers and positions and opportunities across regions that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to interact with in an in-person fair. So for example, if an employer that you're interested in is not one that recruits at your university or at Appalachian, this might be an opportunity where they are participating in an online fair, and so you can have some personal connection with them. The other benefit is obviously that you can log in and log out multiple times. So you're not having to walk from point A to point B to get to the fair in person, and you only have this block of time to do so. In the situation of a virtual career fair, you can log on in between classes. You can log on at multiple times throughout the day when it's convenient to your schedule. And then finally, a virtual career fair is an easy and low-risk way to practice your networking skills. So tip number 1 is we recommend registering ahead of time. This is one of those things where when you register ahead of time, you get a sense for what is the format of the fair? Will it be, you know, in a chat room, or will it be in a Zoom room? So are they going to see you or not be able to see you? Who are the different employers who are participating? What's the amount of time that the fair is going to be open? So registering ahead of time gives you some clues about what to expect and helps you best prepare for meeting and engaging with people. And that really leads us to our next tip. And that is research participating organizations. And Caitlin, I know you have some thoughts on this that I'm going to ask you to share, but you know, you really want to get an idea of the companies that you want to interact with, and you also don't want to walk in unprepared. So doing your research really kind of puts you ahead of the game and helps you put your best foot forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know personally and in our organization, we like to know that you've at least taken the time to research the fact that we're a mental health agency. We're not asking you to learn every single little detail about our organization, because even I don't know all that information, but we want you to come and show that, hey, I know that you work with these kids. I know that you guys are across the country. And then that kind of opens it up and helps us figure out how to best guide the conversation, guide you into different directions with our company, and kind of lets us know that, hey, I'm invested, I want to know more, and I put this effort forth so that we can have a really meaningful conversation. So it's a difference between, I was very interested by your mission and values, versus, can you tell me what you're about? It's a whole different conversation that we can have, and just really lets us know that our time is valued as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So tip number 3 is update your resume. And actually, I was participating in a fair last week where that was one of the requirements to be able to participate in the fair or to enter the different chat rooms, was they wanted you to upload your resume before you got started. And had I not been prepared, I would not have been able to do that. And so that's not something that you want to leave till the last minute or have to do on the fly, because your resume is what is telling employers about your experience, about the skills that you possess. So you want it to be clean and concise and up to date. And you also want to have a digital copy ready to submit online. So save that in a PDF format. And also for LinkedIn. So some career fairs are not only looking for your resume, but they're also looking for work samples or a portfolio. And if you're sharing that via the career fair or you're making it available on LinkedIn, it just makes it easier for them to access it. Caitlin, do you all use LinkedIn
We
to?
do, yeah. We do a lot of searching there, looking for candidates, and the more detail that is on a LinkedIn profile, which is often a lot of the stuff that comes from the resume, it really helps us find you and make those better matches.
Well, and I think it's also, and this relates to one of our future tips, but it's also a great way to have that follow-up conversation as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll get to that soon. Tip number 4 is to practice your pitch. I think it's really important in an online format, maybe more so than in person, because you're having to build that rapport with people. So you need to give some thought to how you want to introduce yourself, what your qualifications are, and so thinking about the things that you want to share with employers. And Caitlin, you and I were talking about some of the things that you're looking for when a student, you know, wants to engage. What are the things that you hope that they will share with you?
Yeah, so I really look for that degree. I think that's what most people are looking for, but also that graduation date. That helps us put into a frame of reference how we can move our conversation, what you might be looking for, and then know what you might be looking for anyways. Are you looking for an internship? Are you looking for a full-time position? Are you wanting to relocate? That's the kind of information that is very beneficial for us up front, and again, helps guide the conversation and lets us know that, this is who you are in a little capsule. Obviously, you're more than that 30-second elevator pitch, but really helps us figure things out from the beginning as well.
Right. Well, and in addition to, your pitch is is not just about who you are, but again,
Hmm.
the tip about thinking of the questions that you'd like to ask and
Yeah.
thinking about some of the ways that conversation may go is that, being proactive about that and thinking out some of those responses and questions really are a sign of preparation. And again, you talked about how important that is.
Yes.
So, tip number 5 is test your technology and plan your participation location. We had a few technical issues this afternoon in getting this webinar started, and it just drove home the value of testing and planning and making sure that everything is working correctly. So, make sure your device is capable of supporting you at the fair. Particularly, if it's a fair that does use Zoom or some sort of video component, do you have enough bandwidth for that? You want to avoid shaky camera syndrome. So there's nothing more distracting than, somebody who is holding a phone or moving all over the place and you're getting dizzy trying to follow them. So make sure that you have a good stable place to prop up your desktop or your laptop or smartphone if that's what you need to use. And then plan out where you'll be attending the career fair from. A quiet location is important. You don't want to have children in the background or people, if you're outside at a park, people playing or making noise or dogs barking. You want to make sure that you have the best possible connection with the people that you're interacting with. And obviously making your expertise the focal point of the conversation, not some visible, distraction in the background. And Caitlin
Yes.
and I were talking a little bit about this before we started, right?
Right. You want the focus to be on you and not the stack of dirty clothes behind you, or the cute puppy that's on your couch and playing with your hair. We want to hear from you and not be distracted, and we also want your attention on us as well. So having the lack of distractions and just showing that you've put a little bit of forethought into your location just shows that you're taking it seriously and have that attention to detail, which so many organizations do look for in an individual, just as one of those little soft skills.
Absolutely. So tip number 6 is dress professionally. And I think that there is kind of this expectation sometimes in an online format that you don't have to be as professional or it's not as formal perhaps. And that's not true. If this is the first and only time that you're making an impression on an employer, you want to make sure that they walk away thinking that you have the ability to look professional and be presentable. And I think that that's really crucial for making a good first impression.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's chat only, this kind of goes out the window, right?
It
Uh,
does.
Now, Caitlin, tell us a little bit about, obviously youth villages, are you a professional attire? Are you professional casual? Like, what is your expectation or what are you looking for in
Yeah.
terms of how you interact with someone at a fair in terms of their dress based on your company policy?
Yeah, so we are business casual. So we're not expecting anybody to be in a three-piece suit, but we want you to present well because our positions are typically in the community. They are the ones being seen out there, working with families, working with community partners. So we want to present put together. So not saying you have to wear those khakis and polos every day, but nicer bottoms, a nice top, a button up. I know a lot of our men do wear those polos and khakis just because it's easy. But we really look for that business casual and just, put together. We want you to feel good. And when it comes to video chats and online forums as well, if you're dressed well and you're feeling good, you're going to feel more confident, and that's going to project as well. So having that kind of all come together really works in your favor as well.
Absolutely. And is that something that if someone was doing their research ahead of time that they might be able to glean from your website? Just wondering if that's any part of the preparation process that they could do?
Yeah, you can definitely tell just from the visuals on our website, from our Facebook page, our Instagram. You can really see a snapshot of what our company is, kind of the vibe of us. Obviously, it varies office to office just because we're in so many different locations, but you can tell that we might have one office that's a little more relaxed. You know, we're over in Western North Carolina, so we are slightly more comfortable and casual there than in, say, Charlotte. So it's one, if you're looking very hard, and not even so hard, but you can tell that we are kind of varied throughout our different locations. And if you're just looking casually, even, you can see the different vibes that we give off.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a tip that can be applied to any organization is, you know, part of, if you're not sure, you know, what would be expected, or you're not sure really what would be appropriate dress for a fair like that, always go to the website just to get a
Yes.
feel for what the company puts out there. And that is a way to just glean some information that could be helpful to you.
And I'm not saying, you know, go super formal, but it's always better to be slightly overdressed than the one showing up in their pajamas.
Right. Absolutely. So, tip number 7, I think, is a really important one, and that is put yourself out there. You know, it's really difficult, and we hear this from students all the time. It can be intimidating to walk up to an employer at an in person career fair, but I think at a virtual career fair, it's all the more important to exert yourself in order to make those connections, because employers are going to be seeing a lot of different students. You know, you're not necessarily having that connection face to face in person, and so you definitely need to make sure that they remember you. And so once an employer engages you in a chat, that's your time to shine, to introduce yourself, to ask questions about the organization and about open positions, and just be confident. And I think that that goes a long way in showing them that you're interested and that you have, you know, kind of some of those soft skills that they're looking for. Would you agree, Caitlin?
I would, for sure. And we know how hard it is, even in person, but it's even harder virtually to uh, engage. We know it can be very awkward. So that's why it's important to even just start with that small talk, because the most that we typically see on our end when you enter the chat is just that you have entered the chat. So it can be as simple as saying, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm interested in learning more," or even just asking how we are today. We don't have the benefit of having that physical interaction and being able to read body language. You know, we don't see you actually standing there. We just see your little name pop up. So having the forethought to say, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm, you know, looking for this. I'm interested in this. I'd love to learn more." I think that's one of the best ways to do it. And it's a little less risky to do it via chat than it is face to face. You have the chance to really think through what you're saying and what you're typing. So we definitely want you to just dive right in. That we see that and know that you're serious about it.
Yeah. And sometimes that small talk can be a great icebreaker on both
Yes,
ends, right?
absolutely.
Now, if you're nervous, then, you know, just kind of engaging in some, you know, personal introductions, or how are you
Hmm.
doing today, or what's the weather like where you are,
Right.
can kind of ease the tension a little bit and make you feel a little bit more comfortable, so that then you can dive into some of the more, you know, nitty gritty of what you
Yes.
want to talk about with an
And
employer.
it's really simple, especially with a virtual career fair like this one that is so widespread, because I'm going to be joined by, I believe, 10 of my other colleagues. So you might not talk with me, you might talk with someone who's in Oklahoma or in Tennessee. So even just saying something as simple as, you know, "Where are you located?" "I'm in Boone, North Carolina." That just kind of opens things up, and we can make those connections as well and say, "Hey, I could really connect you with someone that way as well."
Yeah, yeah, great. Well, and I think this leads into our next tip, which is about communicating effectively,
Mhm.
because your interactions in this format are in the chat function of a platform. And so you do want to demonstrate that you are able to articulate what you're interested in, and that that you have strong written communication skills. And so this is where, we think about that grammar matters, and that, maybe slang and sort of text lingo definitely not appropriate in this context, because you want to demonstrate that you have those strong communication skills.
Yes, absolutely. And the great thing about being virtual is that if you are one of those people who types so fast, you always wind up riddled with misspellings and things looking a little wonky, you can type your questions out. We do not fault you for that. You're hopefully talking to so many different organizations that you're hoping you have enough time. So type those questions out, have them ready to copy and paste, have that small talk interaction with everybody, and then you can at least have those things ready to go, pull them out of your back pocket, and bam. Really leads to that effectiveness. And we know, at least most computer programs will tell you if you've misspelled something. So you at least have that as your benefit as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned a little bit about body language too. So I think it's important. This last tip on effective communication is, eye contact.
Yes.
This is your interaction with this person, and it's going to be brief. And so you want to make good eye contact. You want to speak clearly, avoid slouching, and keep your hand gestures to a minimum, so that it's not distracting from the conversation. I'm a big hand talker.
Me too.
I try to keep my hands in my lap and hold them so that I'm not doing a lot of that gesturing.
Right. Same here.
So tip number 9 is ask for next steps and contact information. And this is the one that I alluded to a little bit earlier in the webinar about, sharing your resume. Because if you're having a conversation with someone that you're really interested in, and you want to make sure that you get to the next step of the process, whether that be an interview or, kind of a connection with someone else within the organization, you need to be confident and not hesitate in asking about the next steps in the process.
Absolutely. We definitely want you to close that deal. We want it to be a successful wrap up to this hopefully amazing conversation that we've had, even if it's via chatting. We want you to know that you have made that connection with us. And as Jennifer and I were saying earlier, our organization is across the country. So even if we might not have what you want in North Carolina, or I'm not hiring for something, I can always connect you with someone else. That way it's easy to connect you. I can say, hey, this person sent me an email. This is who you should connect with. It makes it really easy to wrap up any of those loose ends.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be you're going to find a lot of varying ways that employers choose to go about this. So, I think you can ask to take down their contact information, or they may have already provided it, or maybe they haven't. Maybe they have a process where they want to reach out to you. And so I think it's important to ask and be very clear about how you can stay in touch.
Yes.
And that's, you want to have that so that you can follow up after the fair. Even if it doesn't lead to anything, you at least know how to keep in contact with them.
Yes, and you want to respect time as well, because some people might receive anywhere from 100 to 150 emails a day. So maybe emailing them first is not the best way to do that, but sharing your information and having that conversation will make sure that they reach out to you. I know I am fortunate to not receive that many emails, so I don't have any problems with someone reaching directly out to me.
Well, and in along those same lines of communication, it's really important to send thank you notes. Even in this day and age, you don't want to let your efforts go to waste by neglecting to follow up with that connection after the fair. And Caitlin and I were just kind of talking a little bit beforehand, handwritten thank you notes are wonderful, but in this time of COVID-19, guess what? We're not at our offices.
Right.
And so if you're going to send that note to someone's, corporate mailing address, they're likely not going to see it for a while.
Mhm.
And so in those cases, an email is definitely the way to go. And it just lets them know that you appreciated their time,
Mhm.
and that you do have an interest. And it's also a way to kind of set you apart from the pack. They, as Caitlin mentioned, they come in contact with a lot of different candidates and a lot of different resumes. And so a thank you note can be a great way to refresh someone's memory about, the conversation that you had with each other and why you're interested in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it just kind of puts you like a little notch next to your name and says, hey, this person took the second to send a quick thank you. It doesn't have to be, but 2 sentences long. I don't need a paragraph. It's just one that says, hey, thank you. And it just lets me know that they appreciated the time. And, if you wanted to do it that way, you can send a message via LinkedIn just saying, hi, we met virtually on this fair, and I appreciated your time. And I think just something like that is just so meaningful, and most people forget to do it, but it's just the little things that make us remember you. And if we're sharing your information, we can say, hey, this person was thoughtful and sent a thank you note or thank you message. And that just kind of adds a little more clout behind your name and what we're sharing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about receiving notes on LinkedIn? Is that something that you usually get a lot of?
I get a fair amount of them, yes. After career fairs, especially, I have students who connect with me, and I always love making those connections because even if it's not something that's immediate that I could help them with, I'm always happy to have further conversations. I have connected with students who have just said, "Hey, we spoke for a few minutes. I'd love to learn a little bit more. Do you have time to chat?" And I think that's just such a great way to make that more human connection, and just have that little bit of extra time and thoughtfulness behind a conversation. And I'm always happy to make those LinkedIn network connections, and if I can't help you, I might know someone who can.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are our 10 tips. Pretty simple, right? I mean, I feel like these are things that really can go a long way in demonstrating not only your interest, but your professionalism, as well as what makes you a good fit with an organization,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we just want you to know that we're here to help you. The Career Development Center at Appalachian has so many different options and resources available to help you prepare for a virtual career fair, to get your resume ready, to help you write your pitch, or whatever else that you might need assistance with in putting your best foot forward. So we encourage you to take advantage of our services right now. We're here, we're working for you for the summer. And this is a great time when some of us are still stuck at home, to just start putting some of these services to use for you, so that when the time comes for you to attend a fair or to meet with an employer or to interview, you're ready. So some of the things that you can do are make an appointment with a career coach. You can participate in more of these virtual meetups. We have them every week, on a variety of topics. So we hope that you'll check those out on our website. And yeah, there's just lots of different ways to connect with us. So I hope you'll check those out. And I want to say thank you so much to Caitlin for
Yeah.
joining me today. It's great to have your insight. It's great to do
Thank
this
you.
with an employer that we are so connected with, and we can't wait to see you at the Southern Alliance Career Fair. So
Thank you.
everybody
Looking
mark
forward
your
to
calendars.
it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. There's quite a few employers signed up for it now. I think it's up over 100.
Oh,
So
that's great.
I think it's going to be a great event.
Good.
So Caitlin, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course, Jennifer.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks. Yay.
Thank you so much.